Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this moment. It's the only moment there is, and I know that sounds like a cliche, probably something we've all heard before, but it is the truth. And there's a click that separates hearing those words and knowing those words, knowing the experience that is behind the words themselves, because words, as we know, are symbols of symbols. So the word is never, ever going to do it. However, there is a click right there that if we can penetrate the symbol, there is an experience of this moment, of here and now, right this moment. So once again, welcome to this moment. I want to begin today with a prayer and a song that we used to always open up our sessions with, but it's always so appropriate, but I think so appropriate for today that it is something I believe will set us in that perfect place where we can truly open and realize why we're here. I'm looking back at the daily word. It says, grace. I live in grace moment by moment. Isn't that interesting? I didn't even see that or know that until this moment. And yet here we are. Welcome to this moment. And what are we here to do in this moment?
Be truly helpful.
How did you know that?
I'm part genius.
We are here only to be truly helpful. Only one reason. I love the fact that that only word is right there. And also truly helpful. Not kind of helpful, not mainly helpful, but truly, totally helpful. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath. We'll start with that prayer. I am here only to be truly helpful, and I am here to represent the one who sent me. I do not need to worry about what to say or what to do, for the one who sent me directs me back to you. Sing that first line with me. For I am here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent the one who sent me. And I am here to represent the one who sent me. I am content to be where love wishes, knowing God goes there with me. I am healed as I allow love to teach me how to heal, how to heal. Here we go. For I am here only to be truly helpful. to be truly helpful, truly helpful. I am here. I am here. I am here. No truer words have ever been spoken than that. And that being said, I'm asking myself in this moment, how can I be truly helpful? Well, there are two things that come to mind, or rather that just I can feel, because it's not really a mind thing anymore. It's more of a feeling. The first is a line that I saw on a poster this morning. For those of you who don't know, we have two women here who are doing personal retreats with me, the I Am Awake retreats, where we get up every morning, 3 times a day we chant together. And one of them is in the Anchor Hold, where I spent 6 months earlier this year and last year. And in the Anchor Hold, there's a little tiny building that looks like a tomb. There were no windows, just very small, barely big enough for a twin bed. And on the wall, when I first started my anchorite experience, I made a poster that has one of my favorite lines from Jesus when he said, I am here to set the world on fire, and how I wish it was already burning. Now notice the first 3 words. I am here. The I am presence is here right now to set the world on fire through you. And how I wish it was already burning. And the truth is, it is. We're beginning to feel the heat, like we're getting closer and closer to that fire. And so this morning, as I was working with Jacqueline, who's in the retreat, I was looking at that poster and feeling that radiance and that intention. I am here to set the world on fire, and how I wish it was already burning. We talk about that fire a lot here because I think it's one of the best descriptions of the experience that cannot be put into words. It can be hinted at, it can be talked around, but it can't be talked directly to because it is a direct experience. It's not something that is dependent upon symbols or language or words of any kind. It's an experience that is always there because the truth of who you are has always been true. It's always there, but we, in our present identity, are the literal denial of that experience. And so little by little, we've been carving that away. Or I like the image of the salt person. Imagine a little doll made of salt that's been put in. Someone's got unmuted here. Hold on. Who is unmuted? I'm gonna have to mute everybody. 1 second. Okay, that'll do it. So you've heard probably the analogy before of the salt person who, a little doll that's put at the shore of the ocean and the waves gently lap against the doll, and every time a wave comes and goes and comes and goes, a little bit of that salt dissolves back into the ocean. That's close. Or the fire that we wish was already burning, and it is. We don't dance around the fire, we dive in. And as we dive in, everything that is not true, not essential, burns away. So those are some of the images that come to me when I think about that experience. But then, a little later on this morning, I was doing my morning prayer, and I was reading one of the stories from, I think it was the Gospel of Luke. A very typical story that you read in a lot of the Gospels of everyone comes to Jesus and he heals them all. There's so many people coming, they have to lower them through the roof. He touches them, he prays over them, they are all healed. Is that what the Christ is? In that moment, that was the expression of the Christ. Someone keeps getting unmuted. If you guys could all check and make sure that you are muted, because someone is not. Check your thing, and I don't know who it is. Let me do it again. Just make sure you don't unmute yourselves, because then it creates unnecessary noise in the background. Okay. So I was reading that this morning, and I was asking that question. Is this what happens when we are in full alignment with that Christ energy? When I realize that I am that. I am the Christ. Literally, not some figurative idea that I use to brighten my blah, blah, blah. But this is the truth. And it's always been true. It hasn't changed. It can't change. So, once again, when that experience and reality dawns upon my mind, will people be lowering bodies through my roof? Probably not. Let me try to give you an idea, though, of what it might be like. And this is speaking from my own personal experience. But I think you'll be able to relate to it, because I think in one way or another, this is what it's going to be like. So I want you to begin by imagining a swimming pool. It's funny because whenever I think of a swimming pool, the first one that comes to mind is the one that was formerly at Vicky and Teddy's house. They had a big swimming pool in the backyard. So for some reason, my imagination always goes to that pool. But imagine whatever pool you want. And there's no water in it, or maybe a few inches. And so there you are standing in the bottom of that pool. And it's heavy. And slowly, water begins to come into that pool. And as it does, the level begins to rise. And let's say it's a very, very deep pool. And as the level rises, you begin to rise, because you're floating there at the top. Let's say now it's about halfway. If you want, you can dive to the bottom again, but it will be totally different. You won't feel the same weight, you won't feel the same density, and you won't want to stay there. Because you know that the only place you'll be able to truly breathe is above the water. So now you're about halfway. And the water keeps coming. And as the water continues to fill the pool, so do you rise. And there comes this foundation, this level that is always there, even when it seems sometimes like it's not. Even when you're challenged, even when there are issues that you have to work through, or whatever it may be, that foundation is still there. The foundation of your true identity, of your Christhood. And you always feel it. And you always know it's there. And you can always come from that reality, from that level of grace. Once again, the daily word, grace. I live in grace moment by moment. And that's about all I can say about that, because anything more just is adding more symbols. I think the only thing to know about that is that there is this foundation as we're filled more and more with that light. The light of Christ. Or call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But as we're filled more and more with that, we're lifted above. And as I said before, we can dive to the bottom, but there comes a point, why would you? When you can only breathe. when you're above the water. When you get to the point where you can only breathe when you are inhaling grace and love, when you're expressing only grace and love, you will now and then, even in your Christ mind, even in your awakened self, you will now and then dive to the bottom. You'll get caught. You'll have thoughts. You'll have arguments, whatever it may be, but you won't be able to stay there. Because you'll need to breathe. And you know you can't breathe there anymore. Maybe that comes close. I don't know. But that's my experience of being filled with the Christ, being filled with that light. And that's what's happening to each one of us. All we really need to do is to recognize it and to notice that foundation. It's beyond words. It's beyond any description. But sometimes these stories can help give us a tiny glimpse. So when Jesus said, I have come to set the world on fire, and how I wish it was already burning. The only intention of the Christ is to burn away everything that is not. Jesus did that. Others have done that. You are here to do that because you are here only to be truly helpful. And that's what that means. To set the world on fire. It doesn't mean you're going to be famous. It doesn't mean people are going to notice you. In fact, it's better if they don't. When that stuff starts to happen, it complicates it. Trust me. Better to keep it simple. You don't have to go around proclaiming anything. But people will feel it. People will feel that heat because they'll know that you dove into that fire and everything that was not the fire has now been burned away. Everything that is not the Christ is gone. And all that is left in you is that light and that heat and that radiance. So, Victoria, our dear sister Vicky, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Morning, Brother James.
You're going to take it and make it practical for us, you and Teddy.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. So this is what it made me think of. You remember Molly, of course. Molly was just a lit up being and a great example and teacher to me and to my sisters. But this is the example Molly would always give me. She'd say, sweetie girl, it's like everyone has a Bunsen burner. Remember from your lab days? A Bunsen burner was, and usually it's just a little bit of the flame. And then she said, and then you can turn it up and the flame gets really bright and you're lit. And when you turn it up, there's nothing there but the light of your soul taking you. And so, you know, that's always been a good image for me in my mind, like the pool for you, because we all understand a little bit of light, because we all understand and have experienced love, all of us, at some moment in our lives. The most hardened person in the world has somehow, somewhere, experienced a moment of love. And that's the little Bunsen burner right there, that little flame of the soul right there. And the way we turn it up and light the world on fire, finally understanding the world comes from only our own mind, is to let the light be the only thing we pay attention to. Let it be the only thing that drives us and engages us. And to everything else, like diving down to the deep end of the pool where you can't breathe, just don't engage it. That's all. Because just like today's unity, it is grace that burns, that opens and puts that flame into full force. It's grace that lets the other things fall away. If we don't engage it, the power of our will is so strong, we underestimate it. it is the power to make what looks like a world of time and space all around us. And if we devote that power to letting this light, paying attention to the light, and not worrying what it looks like on the outside, just paying attention to that little Bunsen burner, this light of our own soul, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Just pay attention to that and engage that. And when all the other thoughts and experiences come, welcome them. Welcome, welcome, welcome them. Let them come and let them pass, because our attention is on the light that we are. That's no different than saying, I'm the living Christ no matter what it looks like. No matter what mistakes I made right now, today, this hour, I'm still the living Christ. I go to the light, the grace of that light of our own soul for direction, correction, and the way to take the next step. That's how I live by grace. Don't engage anything less than love, less than light. And let grace, the Holy Spirit, burn off all of our addictions to false stuff. All of it is just false stuff. That's all it is. And we get caught in guilt, or we get caught in desire, or we get caught in all these things of feelings, when the soul isn't about feeling in that way, it's about knowing. And we all know the simplicity of love, whether we call it love or compassion or kindness or a smile, all of us know it. Stay with it, and grace will burn off the rest. And that Bunsen burner just comes into a full lit flame. And it's impossible, if our mind holds only that light, only the light of our soul, that it also doesn't start reflecting it around us in the world we find ourselves. Each one of us, in our family, our friends, where we live, it starts unfolding and reflecting back to us that same light. And when we do it for our brothers, we do the same thing. We do not engage a brother's mistakes, no matter what they look like, no matter how hideous or how offensive, whether it's murder or whatever it is. We do not engage a brother's mistake. We see the light of the soul, maybe the little Bunsen burner at the little ebb, and we pay attention to that light in our brothers like we do ourselves, and let the grace of our vision light that soul up, and let that light come into full radiance. So we don't engage the false stuff with ourselves, we don't engage it with our brothers, and instead, by engaging only the light, it's impossible that it doesn't just catch and become all that we are. It's the function of our will and our attention. So we have, when Jesus says, you've got dominion of a kingdom, this is the kingdom. We've got dominion. Pay attention, everybody. Don't let any bad stuff in. It's not, none of it's true. Thank you.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let's sing that again. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This eternal light of mine, this eternal light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This eternal light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This eternal light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you.
All right, Teddy, it's all yours.
All I got when you were talking were these little simple phrases. When you talk about, Jesus came to burn off the dross, separate the wheat from the chaff. And that's our function in ourselves. The simplest thing to make this always a source of wonder as to how it goes on is the statement in the Course that says, by grace I live, by grace I am released. And that's it. You're alive by the grace of God, and you're released from the falsity by the grace of God too. So just count on God and His grace, and that's it. How it happens is not up to you, but the decision to let it happen so that you can understand and see what's going on is definitely ours. Because time and eternity cannot coexist. If we're eternal, the temporal has nothing to do with who we are. But if we're believing in the temporal, we'll forget the eternal. But time and eternity cannot coexist. One or the other is true. And when you have it, and at the base of who we are is our eternal reality. So we can never, that's always the thing that's nagging away inside for us to come to know. And we try to learn all kinds of things in this world, but the certainty of being eternal and knowing the eternal is created by God is the solution to the problem. So seek only that, and by grace you'll live, and by grace you'll be released.
Thank you. You used a word there, Teddy, that I love, and I think it is another great signal. And that word is certainty. The step into certainty. You can't explain certainty. If you're certain about something, you can't even explain but you know. I can't explain to you. No one can explain to you what the Christ is, what reality is, what the real, any of that. But I'm certain of it because I've seen it. There's a story that I used to tell that describes this. Imagine that you're standing in a field and you're lost. You know that you're homeless somehow, but there's this feeling within you of home, of reality, but you don't know how to get there. And suddenly, as you're standing there in this field, a man or a shaman or someone shows up. Woman, could be anyone. And they notice where you are, what you're feeling. And this shaman points at this forest that begins right at the edge of the field and points at a path right there at the edge of the field and says to you, if you follow that path, I promise you, you will find home. You will be home. So you have nothing else to lose, so you decide to enter the forest. You begin walking on this path. And because you believe this shaman, there's great enthusiasm, just like we all have great enthusiasm when we start our spiritual path. So we're walking fast, so we're jogging, and we're like, I'm going to get there in an hour. I'm going to really walk fast. And an hour, 2 hours, 2 days go by, you're still on the path. So some of that initial enthusiasm wears off, so you're maybe not walking as fast, but you're still walking. Maybe a week goes by. You're still on the path. You still believe. Belief is of the mind because you decided to believe what this shaman said to you. But after a while, the urgency is not there. So you stop once in a while and you just look at the plants or play with the rocks. And every once in a while, you come to a beautiful little vista that you can just sit and look at. So there's no urgency anymore. This is once again you still believe. But here's the key. There comes a moment when you turn a corner and there's a clearing in the trees And suddenly you look into the distance and you see it. Home, the castle, the kingdom. And when you see it, all the memories flood back of how loved you were, of how much beauty and grace was in that castle. It is no longer a belief. You are now certain because you've seen it. There it is. I remember. You still have a good amount of distance on the path to walk. But you're now walking in a different way, because now when you have that certainty, you are not walking, you're not dilly-dallying, you're running at the top speed, because you know this now. And you run, and then finally you arrive at the gate of your home, of where you are loved. And right before you walk in, you see a map on the gate. And you look at that map and you see where you are now, you see where the castle is, but you also notice the forest, you see the path, you see the field, you see every other place that you've been, and you realize you never really left your home. You were always on the property of your home. That's the difference between faith and certainty. We find ourselves walking this path, believing in our minds that this is true, that if I stay on this path, I'm going to reach home. But there is that moment when you're walking the path where the trees clear and you see it, and then you drop from here to here into a place of certainty. So once again, we're all talking, using stories, using examples to illustrate something that cannot really be illustrated, to describe something that cannot be described. But all of these things help to bring us just a little bit closer to maybe just releasing the last little vestiges of fear that keep us from just dropping into that place of certainty. But I can tell you, and Vicki and Teddy and many others, many of you will tell us that once you hit that, once you see that home, once you have that experience, game's over. No more dilly-dallying. Any final words you guys want to say about that, Vicki or Teddy?
Yeah, well, I mean, what you're talking about is Moses wandering through the desert. I mean, he wandered through the desert how many years? Was
40
it
years.
40 years? And the other guy, 40 days and 40 nights. And, he wandered through the desert until finally he realized, oh, this is home. Everybody, they were just wandering and wandering, wondering where they were going. And all of a sudden, there came a point in time, everybody realized, oh, I'm home. And it was still a desert, too, when you look at where they wound up. But, that's what you got to do. You wander through the desert, 40 days, 40 nights, 40 years, however long it takes until you come to the recognition of the truth. That's it.
How about you, Vicki?
I'm good, Jimmy. Thanks for singing.
You are very good. Thanks to both of you, and thanks to all of you. Let's just stay this course, stay on this path. There's nothing left to do. There's nothing really left to achieve. We find ourselves in an impossible situation, so why continue trying to make the impossible possible? Just relax. Just allow this experience to sink in deeper and deeper. Let the water rise. Once again, I live in grace moment by moment. And so we lift all of our prayers, everyone who has asked for our prayers, everyone who is seeking to remember, to know the truth of who they are and have always been. We lift them in our minds now into this light, into this sacred radiance, knowing that the light has come. We have been revealed in that light, and we are healed together. And so it is. Thank you, dear family. Have a beautiful Friday. We will be back on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and I hope you can join us. But until then, we should do the final prayer, shouldn't we? Let me get to that real quick. There we are. Okay, let me share the screen. And we will pray the prayer of protection. Here we go. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Namaste, everyone. See you
Love
later.
you all. Love
Adios.
visiting.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Have a
love
good
you
day.
all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take